I'm Tom Gazzardo with Top Leaders Coach. Dan Malin's with me. Dan is a confidant, a COO, a business coach, and my friend. Dan, we're looking at business succession planning. What we keep finding is we coach people and they come to us and they're urgent. They're like, well, I need to find a successor. I want to get this done.
Yeah, that's a flawed strategy, and the reason it's a flawed just to go find a successor. If you have no plan, if you have no grounds to bring that person on board, what are they going to do? How are you going to use them? How are you going to introduce them to your clients? If you don't have any way that you're going to manage the relationship with them, how are you going to pass them on as a successor and pass the clients that you currently have on to them unless you know what you're going to do with them?
Well, okay, we have a 6-step process in our book, okay? Can you share with them what are the 6 steps that are necessary to have a successful business succession plan?
Yeah, let's start with some just a basic idea here. First of all, I've done about 250 of these in the property and casualty insurance industry and also in the financial services industry. So we have seen some really good successes here. We've also seen some incredible train wrecks. But what I'm about to show you is pretty well the common denominators. And we have a chart here basically that looks like this. If you look at the things on the chart, the first thing is feasibility, then there's planning, okay? Then we have recruiting, having an agreement, then having an integration plan, and finally the closing. So let me unpack these a little bit at a time, Tom, and you can kind of help me with this. The feasibility is really the question of what do I want? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish my succession plan? What do I want for my customers? What do I want for my family? What do I want for my staff? What do I want for me? Okay? And what does that look like? I have to write that down on a piece of paper. You know, Tom, there's a lot of people that jump right over this and just start with a planning process. Well, let's plan to get where we're going, but we got to decide, what's the Super Bowl look like? What does it look like to win this process of succession planning?
When you're looking at planning, you mean it's kind of like I have a vision. I got to see the next season. I got to plan what I'm going to do. I got to be thinking this through.
Yeah, so the feasibility is like deciding I want to go to San Diego.
Okay.
The next planning part is how am I going to get there? What's the map? How do I draw the map to take me from Atlanta to San Diego?
Okay.
Okay. But until I decide I want to go to San Diego, it really doesn't matter. What does San Diego look like? I could go to Washington, or I could go to Dallas.
So I may want to get out in 6 months, or I may want to grow my business. I may want to find a successor.
You could get out in 6 months or 6 years. What do you want to do?
Well, I can get out quickly. It's called walking away, and that's a disaster.
That's it. That's right. And everybody suffers when that happens. So you get feasibility and planning. The next thing on the list is recruiting. Okay, the recruiting piece is kind of unique to the financial advisor world, but it's also similar when you're selling any kind of business. In the recruiting phase, it'll be who is a potential buyer for my business. Who's the person that could take this over? And really, what I want out of the deal, I have decided in my feasibility that I want my clients to have the level of care that I have provided to them. That's my highest priority. I don't care really that I make a ton of money at it, but I want to be sure that my clients are taken care of. That's my highest priority. I decided that in the feasibility. I'm going to recruit somebody who's going to have my core values, that's going to be able to communicate with my clients. If I hire the wrong guy, that's not going to work. We've seen. Tell me the train wrecks. I mean,
okay,
you got some stories.
Here's a train wreck. Okay, one of my favorite clients, okay, comes to me and says, "Okay, help me do my succession plan." And he told me, well, I said, "Well, did you have a client profile of what you wanted, who you wanted to look for?"
Your client profile or a successor profile?
A successor client profile.
Right.
Okay, and he was unclear. He did the same process unsuccessfully 2 times.
Three times,
okay?
right?
Then I made some suggestions. I said, well, no, I'm too busy. Let me. Thanks for your feedback. Didn't hire us. Did the same process the third time.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work at all.
Yeah. So when you recruit somebody, you have to be very intentional, and you have to have a game plan and a job description and a process to bring them on board. And what happens after you've recruited, let's assume for a moment, you've actually found the right person.
Right.
What are you going to do now? Well, if you and I are going to get into bed together and we're going to do something, we can have an agreement. Okay?
Yes.
We have a business agreement. So the next thing you got to do is you got to have an agreement. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? And one of the things, if I'm his successor, I want to know is, when are you leaving? I want to know, when are you leaving?
And when are you going to transfer?
When are you actually leaving?
How are we going?
Right.
When are you leaving, and how are we going to transfer your best relationships to me?
That's correct. And you have to decide to leave, because if you're not going to decide to leave, how many train wrecks have we seen where somebody says, I have a succession plan, and the guy never leaves? He stays on forever. No, you have to leave.
Quick story. Make up a name. Bill, okay, in St. Louis says, okay, I brought this person on, I like him, I trust him, okay, but he doesn't have any hobbies, he doesn't have anything that he really wants to do, and he and his wife have a great relationship, but all they do is travel. She doesn't want him at home, so he really hasn't made any commitment to leave.
Right, that's a problem.
And then he holds on. They've been there for 14 months, and the other guy's like pissed off, like, there's no transition here. I'm just sort of your junior cadet. This isn't working
Right.
for me. And they rolled out. It's like,
Yeah, right. If there is a transition plan intended, then the one thing that you have to do as the person who is in the succession plan, you've got to decide to leave. The other thing here is integration. You know, how are we going to integrate? So Tom and I'm the guy that's leaving, and Tom's the guy that's taking over my block of business. Okay? How am I going to work through the process of integrating you into my client relationships? Well, I have to turn you loose and trust you to have a relationship and build a relationship with them and solve problems. You've not created anything of value for them until you've solved the problem for them.
well, they trust you, but you gotta.
I got to turn it over to you, but you got to do the work.
We need to have a meeting where we have top relationships where they can meet me
Correct.
versus I'm just your little dum-dum,
Right.
you know, that makes you feel good. Like, we got to really transfer this. We have to have a process to do that.
So let's go to the last piece of this. And the last thing on here is closing. And the closing piece is where the person who's doing the succession is actually going to walk out into the sunset and be done. Okay? And at feasibility, you have to determine what that looks like if you're the person that's exiting the business. We got a lot of people that don't know what they want to do when they ride off into the sunset.
Riding off into the sunset is the way it needs to transition. You've got to have a process and a plan. We look at 6 steps, okay? We want to help you go to the next level. We're going to cover in our next episode these in more detail and practical tools for you. Let us help you go to the next level.